Support comes from Hampton Roads Community Foundation, partnering with donors from all walks of life to improve southeastern Virginia through grants, scholarships, and leadership initiatives. Learn more at hamptonroadscf.org.
Hello, everyone. I'm Barbara Hamley. Republicans are in the majority in the House, Senate, and the White House, making it difficult for Democrats to get legislation passed or stop legislation that the minority party deems detrimental to the American people. Midterm elections are in 2026, and the Democratic Party is trying to figure out how to convince the electorate to vote them back in power. Enter the Majority Democrats, a coalition of elected officials from all levels of government, determined to remake the Democratic Party's image, recruit new candidates, and challenge policies they say are holding the party back. The mayor of Newport News, Philip Jones, is an inaugural member, and he'll share the vision when Another View comes back, right after this news from NPR and WHRO News.
Discussing today's topics from an African-American perspective, this is Another View.
Good afternoon, everyone, and welcome to Another View. I'm Barbara Hamley. Before we get into our conversation today, just wanted to remind you that this evening, the City of Norfolk Community Services Board, Project ORF, are putting together a program called Surviving Through Mental Health Family Matters, and they want you to join them this evening from 5 until 9 p.m. at Chrysler Hall. That's at 215 St. Paul's Boulevard. Now, when you attend, you will have mental health and wellness resources, community support programs, special guest panelists, food and refreshments, and so much more. It is free. It's open to everyone. In these trying times, everyone is dealing with some sort of mental health, either crisis or just needs some time to just decompress. This is the event that you want to go to. So go on over to Chrysler Hall tonight between 5 and 9 p.m. It is free, and there's complimentary parking, so there's that too. So according to their website, Majority Democrats is, quote, a new organization committed to reshaping and growing the Democratic Party so that it can compete everywhere and improve the lives of the American people. There are 32 inaugural members of this coalition, including 3 from Virginia. Democratic candidate for Virginia Governor Abigail Spanberger, Speaker of the House in the Virginia General Assembly, the Honorable Don Scott, and our guest today, the Mayor of Newport News, the Honorable Philip Jones. Welcome back to Another View.
Thank you so much for having me. This is the highlight of my week. Every time I get to sit down with you, it makes my day.
I really appreciate that. Thank you so much. So, what is Majority Democrats and how did you get tapped in?
So what I tell everyone is before I became mayor, I spent about a decade in the military, in the Marine Corps, and they always said, we have to find a way to win. And so now in the political arena, what I see Majority Democrats is it's a plan for the Democratic Party to win. Not only to win in deep blue seats, but also to win across the country and ultimately deliver results. Tangible progress. We have to have a scorecard. We can no longer be the party that just is we are against something, but what do we actually stand for?
So tell me kind of the backstory. How did this come together and how did they decide who's in the coalition? I know there are 32 that are listed on the website, but are there more?
So there are some more members. I think 30 is going to be the inaugural. And actually, after the New York Times article, I think we got 30 or 4 more individuals that want to join. And so what I would say, it's a growing coalition. Like a lot of political stories, it starts with a phone call at 7 a.m. that says, hey, you've been tapped by X who wants you to come and meet all these individuals. And we have to chart a course. I think the Democratic Party is currently lost in the wilderness, and we have to find a way back toward the middle and find a way to compete. If you look across the entire country, I think the Democrats are we're going to do a pretty good job of taking back the House in 2026. I say the odds are probably 50-50. However, when you look at the map for the Senate, we have a lot of Democratic senators that are in purple or red states that have retired or have lost. So, you have Manchin, you have the senator from Montana. And so the map does not favor us. we're going to have to pivot and change to grow.
But the membership is not just federal
No.
elected officials. It's all the way down through the states
Yes.
and so forth, and possibly and even local, because you have mayors involved. Why the breadth? Is that to grow future politicians to serve on the national level?
I think so. I think when you look at the Democratic Party, we're going to have to increase the scope and the tint of what it means to be a Democrat. And so there are a lot of issues that are not just single-sided. It's actually multifaceted. Things that occur at the federal level are going to trickle down to the state, and then ultimately are going to impact your towns, your cities, your villages. And what I have always said is that I think the lower you go to the people, and I want to give a shout out to my school board. I think school board is the hardest political job. I think it's, I give them,
because you can't satisfy anybody in the school board.
I give them all of their props.
Yeah.
But I think the Democratic Party realizes that mayors have a unique vantage point. I think we're trusted at the local level. And so let's combine that with Speaker Scott at the State House. Let's combine it with future governors and members of Congress. And let's, as a group, deliver real progress for the American people, because we need to be judged on that. And I think too often both political parties, it's vote for me because I'm not the other person. That's not going to work anymore.
So we've got to come up with a message, is
We
what
have
you're
to.
saying, that in terms of the Democratic Party. So what went wrong? Where did the Democratic Party make a wrong turn? And so and causing you to find yourself at this point now where we've got to come together and redirect.
My personal opinion is that we focus too much on special interest groups, and we're not going to probably list those today, but I would say at the fundamental level, the Democratic Party has to get back to being the party of the American dream, right? So before we get into deep discussions about democracy and constitutional republic and all of those terms, what does it mean to live in the American dream? And what I can tell you right now is I'm 35, soon to be 36, and our generation could be the first in which we actually do worse than our parents, right? And so the system that we've all bought into is that if you do well and you go, get your good grades,
Get your good grades.
you get
your
a college,
education.
right? You get the 9-to-5 job.
Yeah.
You get the 2.5 kids. You get the dog and the picket fence, and you're going to do better than your parents. Well, for the first time ever, that's not going to happen. And so when you have high rates of apathy, when you have individuals that no longer buy into the system, then they're no longer going to trust you. So we, as the Democratic Party, have to get back to being the party that supports the American dream, one that is prosperous, one that allows your kids to do whatever they're going to do, and one that has safe and secure borders and low crime.
One of the things that I noticed in reading up about the majority Democrats
Yeah.
is that you all are talking also about going back to the grassroots of listening to people. And I mean, we hear in the news all the time, you've got, the Epstein saga going on right now, and you have all these different things. But is that what people are really talking about? Or are they more talking about, gosh, I went to the grocery store this week and I spent way more than I budgeted for?
It is always going to be about the economy. And I think when you look at majority Democrats, that's where we actually get our name from. We want to go back to what we call the core values of, 85% of Americans can probably agree on 4 things. And that's probably the golden rule, right? Just treat others how you want to be treated. I think everyone deserves to have a family and a house and be able to afford that. Let's get back to being the party of patriotism, which we'll get to in a little bit. And then one about American excellence. I think we can all say that's what makes America, I think, one of the best places, to live and to work, to raise your family. But we have to get back to those core tenets. If not, and we'll get to it a little bit, but all empires fall, right?
Yeah.
All empires fall, and they fall for a myriad of different reasons. We have to make sure that we're able to extend this thing out.
So you mentioned that you're 35, and I noticed that as I went through the list of the inaugural members, many of you are between 30, 40, 50. There's a 60 in there, 1 or 2 maybe. But is this the party of the young folks? Is this intentional, and does that mean you don't want the old guard involved?
This is not, majority Democrats is not about a discussion about youth. It's a discussion of who are going to be the next generation of leaders at all levels, local, state, regional, and federal. There is no age cutoff. I think the majority of the senators are probably above the age of 60. But this is about pushing the party forward. And I'll give you a few examples.
Okay.
In the past 15 years, things have changed. Not only have we have a global pandemic, but we have the rise of cryptocurrency and Bitcoin. We have the rise of artificial intelligence. We have the rise of China in the East, things are different than where they were 20, 30, 40 years ago. The rise of social media, what that does to the mental health of children. We have to address this. And I think these leaders, your 30, your 40s and 50s, think they're in a prime position. So this is not an attack against the old guard. This is saying as the party moves forward, 5 years, 10 years, 15 years, what can we do as a group to center us, to get us back to the middle?
So are you then in competition with progressives within the party?
Not at all. We actually have a large proportion of the group is actually part of the Congressional Progressive Caucus. We do not seek to divide. We seek to expand the tent of the party. And I can tell you in the majority Democrats' internal discussions, we talk a lot about policy. But at the end of the day, we all understand that the current status quo does not work. We are going to have to change. And so this is not a exclusive organization. Let's include everyone. Let's have difficult discussions. But a perfect example is if we continue to cede the ground to Republicans in the House and the Senate, you're going to get a bill that was just passed that's going to strip a lot of healthcare and Medicaid, Medicare from individuals, especially in Hampton Roads. So we don't have neither the time nor the luxury to sit and discuss who's a progressive and who's moderate. We have to grow the party and get back to the essentials.
Or strip things like public media, which just happened.
Exactly.
What are your thoughts about that?
When I wake up every single morning, first thing I do is 89.5, and I listen to my NPR and the PBS and all the affiliate stations. I think once you begin to strip that out from the American people, that's a form of control. I think you're going to see a lot of rural communities. They're going to have to close. You're going to see a lot of indigenous and Native Americans. Where are they going to get their news from? You'll see a proliferation of news deserts across the country. And so I think the bill this morning, that was the clawback bill that was sent back to the House, $2 billion or $1.5 billion over 2 years, that's going to have ripple effects. And I'm afraid of what's going to happen to these local communities.
And it's so ironic too that it would be happening now in the middle of all of the flooding that's going on, all of the natural disasters that are happening, because part of that money was also used for the emergency broadcast system, which alerts people that there are issues that they need to be aware of.
We're going to have to do better as a society, and when you look at how empires fall, this is almost step one or step two, right? High levels of apathy. You encourage people to be disinterested. You start to have public corruption. You have a rise of a different superpower. All of these things lead to empires falling.
757-440-2665 or 1-800-940-2240 are the numbers to call to join our conversation. What questions do you have about majority Democrats? And what are you surprised to hear about this? What are your questions? Give us a call, 757-440-2665 or 1-800-940-2240. Mayor Jones, you talked about apathy. As someone who's listening to this show right now, who may be like, okay, here we go again.
Yeah.
How do you convince them that this is different?
I'm a history major. So at the Naval Academy, everyone is a Bachelor of Science, and then you get to general engineering, and you get to pick a little bit of flavor. So I picked history. And so I study cultures and countries. So we study the Mongols, we study the Chinese dynasties, Rome, the Turkish Empire, whatever you want to take a look at, there's a reason why none of those sort of things are still around. And so I think it's a little bit of hubris that we as Americans think that we're going to last. Well, it's been 250 years.
Yes, in 2026, we're getting ready to celebrate the anniversary, but
so the question becomes
scary.
If we want to survive another 250 years, what do we have to take a look at? And I think what's currently happening is you see a combination of economic decline. I think you see military overreach in certain countries, competition at the economic and the just global, who's going to be the sort of big dog on top. And you see just the rise of oligarchs in the country. These are what happens at the last 6 or 7 different empires that I talked about. All of those things happened. And so we see this happening. There's a poll that came out, I think 2 weeks ago, from NPR. 73% of Americans believe that democracy is currently under attack, and that includes Democrats and Republicans. Now, they may agree about what it means, what democracy truly is, but what we're looking at is 3 out of 4 Americans fear for democracy. That's a dangerous part to be at.
That is a dangerous part to be at, and the question then becomes, what do we do as citizens? So you sit in a seat where you can make decisions and where you can make things happen.
Yeah.
But what do you tell citizens that they need to do in order to help you to do your job?
I think the strongest thing that you can do is to become involved in your local government, your school board, your city council. I'm a huge fan of civic leagues. That's where I go out. I get to meet individuals, and strong neighborhoods are going to create strong communities. Strong communities create strong cities. Cities become regions. Region becomes states. States becomes countries. So that's how I take a look at it. And so what I always say is, it's not just the mayor of Newport News or the different mayors of Hampton Roads that control Hampton Roads. No, it's the individual. It's the people, right? That is what democracy is. It's the people rule, right? From the old Greek. So we need the people to rule. We need them to get involved, because once you abstain from the political establishment, look at history. Bad things always follow that.
Absolutely. 757-440-2665 or 1-800-940-2240. Let's see. Jose joins us from Virginia Beach.
Yes, ma'am.
Hi.
No, yeah, I just wanted to make a comment again with what's currently going on. It's a little bit daunting, especially the people that really aren't taken into account, like your guest said, about apathy and not being involved. At a certain point, the economic standard is going to be affecting everybody. Like right now, it's the lower class, it's the working class, it's everybody in every single party that's being affected. But at the very end of the day, it's going to really become a problem once it starts affecting the upper middle class, the higher middle class, that real big separation between the well-to-do and the real billionaires. That's when people are going to really start taking attention into what's going to be an economic downturn. And at that point, it may be too late if we don't do enough.
Absolutely. Thank you, Jose, for your call. We appreciate that. You want to respond, Mayor?
Jose, thank you for calling in. And when you look at majority Democrats, this is not just about how can we strengthen one political party. That's a subset. This is really about progress for the American people. And I agree. I do believe that our middle class is under attack. And if you look at thriving countries and societies, they're judged on their middle class. And to go back to my earlier comments is, when you take a look, when your kids start to do worse than you, that is a true sign that the middle class is shrinking. And so what I would encourage everyone, I think as Americans, we need to invest in the middle class, and that is your trade schools, your colleges, your workforce programs. These are the results that the American people want to see, and that's what they believe in. So that's what we need to give them.
757-440-2665 or 1-800-940-2240. And we know we have some other members of the majority Democrats listening, so give us a call if you want to talk about this new initiative, 757-440-2665 or 1-800-940-2240. So on a very practical level, what is it that you all are going to be doing starting now until and throughout?
No, it's a really good question. So the first thing that we're focused on is taking back the House in 2026. And so if you look at our charter statement, we need to recruit Democrats in places that we do not normally win, right? The map has turned against us every 10 years. There's a census. So if you want Democrats to win in rural states and counties, et cetera, you have to go out, you have to recruit them. You have to find them, and equip them with all of the things, the messaging, the policy, all of the organizational infrastructure.
So the infrastructure to run the campaign.
And then they can win, because right now we're losing certain seats. I think in New York 8 or New York 18, we're losing it by 2 or 3 points. Well, it's because we're running the wrong types of individuals. And so what I tell everyone is this is why we need to increase the party, because a Virginian Democrat is very different than someone from California or from Texas. If you want a governor, a Democratic governor of Texas, he or she is going to be very, very different than Virginia or California or Nevada or Florida.
Well, that's where that local comes back in, because they've got to be reflective of the state that they represent.
Exactly. The state, the district. And I think what we've seen in majority Democrats, and I think you see it in the Democratic Party, is we are recruiting service-minded individuals. So what is a service-minded individual? Is someone that is a military. It's someone like soon to be, the Representative Spanberger, who was in the CIA for so long. It's Mickey Sherrill, who's running for governor of New Jersey with Naval Academy, my alma mater. let's get these service-minded individuals into positions of influence because they have the ability to talk to people on both sides of the aisle. If you look at the approval rating of Congress, is that it's one of its low. I think it's like 24% of people approve of Congress. There's a direct correlation to this is perhaps one of the least amount of veterans or service-minded individuals in those roles. Go back to post-World War II, you saw the highest numbers of individuals, high rates of bipartisanship. People are passing things. Now we're passing bills. One side is for it, one side is against it.
Yeah.
And so on the tactical level, because I'm not a strategic, I'm a tactical individual, we are going to go out and recruit and get individuals in hard-fought districts, and we're going to win.
So, but with all the negative publicity and all the things that happen when you run for office, how do you convince someone that it's worth it?
There's a old Naval Academy quote, if not me, then who? And if not now, then when? And so it's a question of if 74% of Americans believe that democracy is under attack, then we need 74% of people to get into the arena. And so it's more than just, this one is more focused on statewide and congressional races, but we need people to run for county supervisor and treasurer and your school board and for mayor. So we're building a pipeline of talent, but also to just expand the party because, yes, we can win in Virginia and we can win in California. Can we win in Nevada? Can we win in Ohio? What happens is you win for maybe 2 years, then it flips back. So we want to win governing majorities for a very long time.
Once you get people into that pipeline, then what type will you become an organization that will support that person all the way through?
That's correct. So we try to see it as a one-stop shop. So a lot of these organizations, they say, hey, we are focused on recruiting, or we're focused on fundraising, we're focused on communications. This is everything, right? So you find those individuals, you equip them with the tools necessary to win, whether that's fundraising or polling or the data, whatever you need, we're going to win in some of these hard seats. Because at the end of the day, I think a perfect example is Virginia's 2nd Congressional District. That's a true purple toss-up district, and we're going to need to win that on the path to take back the majority.
Okay, 757-440-2665 or 1-800-940-2240. Politics are just so interesting because people think that someone else should be doing it, and trying to convince that person that they are the right person. You also have a PAC as part of majority Democrats. So is this a private entity or is it a public entity? Kind of, how does that fall in?
I think the correct terminology, it's a hybrid federal PAC, so it's split, I think, federal and state and local races.
Okay.
But the part of that is when individuals want to run for office, one of the hardest things to do is to raise money. Yeah. And so when you ask people, hey, I know you're in a hard district to win, we want to expand our majority, the first thing is, where's the first $1 million going to come from? Or for mayor, where's the first $100,000 going to come from? And so when we go out and we recruit these people, we're trying to also lessen the burden financially. We also want to equip them with the data, the messaging, the policy, so they can actually have an impact. One of my friends is running in New York, Kate Conley. She's a West Point grad, weightlifter. She's been deployed, I think, 2 times to combat zones. She's not your normal Democrat, and that's what you're going to need to win in that blue-collar, upstate New York district. So it's individuals like Kate Conley was the first recruit, and then we support her all the way through. So we do like the monthly calls, and we check in, and I'll be flying to New York to visit her in a few weeks. And so it's about, we don't just get you and then you're on your own. It's we really equip you with all the tools necessary to win. Because at the end of the day, this is not about strengthening one party. It really is getting back to the basics of progress for the American people.
So what about messaging? Because messaging becomes the whole thing. People said the last time we lost because we were the party was too woke, if you will. How do you determine what the right messaging is? And is that messaging the same no matter where you are in the United States?
That's a really good point. And what I would say is we have 3 sort of underlying principles or themes, right? We have, how can we reward hard work? How can we promote safety at home and abroad? And how can we hold platforms and corrupt politicians accountable, right? So when you get back to rewarding hard work, it comes down to what can we do to help you achieve the American dream? Is that cutting all the red tape and the, cumbersome government regulations? How can we encourage small business growth? How can we give grants out, subsidies, etc.? That's how can we reward hard work. When it comes to my job as mayor, all I think about is safety. And that's not only a safe border, but that's also, can we reduce crime here? And I want to say shout out to Newport News Police Department. We've had a 52% reduction in homicides over the last 18 months. So that entire team, to include police and fire and sheriff, we are uber focused on reducing crime and the homicide rate in Newport News. So how can we tackle gun violence? How can we reduce a lot of this mental health that's going on, the crisis across the country? All of these things are domestic. And then on the international level, we cannot cede who we are as Americans. We have to be a part of the global alliance and making sure that we deter from all aggressors. And so we're just combining 2 or 3 of these fundamental ideas as we build out this new thing.
So, but you're talking to everyone, because all of those affect everybody, not just Democrats.
They do.
Not just independents, not just Republicans, but all of America. Right?
I agree.
Yeah. If you're just joining us, we're talking about Majority Democrats, a new coalition of elected officials from around the country determined to create a new Democratic Party in America. Joining us is an inaugural member of the coalition, the mayor of the city of Newport News, the Honorable Philip Jones. 757-440-2665 or 1-800-940-2240. Cheryl joins us from Virginia Beach. Hi, Cheryl. You're on the air.
Morning.
Hi, good morning.
Yes, or good afternoon.
Hi. It is afternoon, isn't it?
Yes, it is. Sorry, I've been busy all morning.
What can we help you with? What's your question?
So I appreciate your speaker today. I'm running actually for House of Delegates, District 98. It's a southernmost part of Virginia Beach. And I guess my question is, it's very residential here. Once you get into Pungo and Creeds and Blackwater, we've got farmers and we've got, just a little bit of rural, but we've got a lot of very nice housing districts, and we are in the neighborhoods every day trying to talk to people, trying to get people to, hey, would you like to help us? Would you like to volunteer? Can we get you engaged? And my problem is that how do you get people who are well-fed, comfortable, and safe to really want to get engaged? Because they're busy taking folks to soccer practices and going to work, and it's so hard to get volunteers. It's so hard to get people to just want to talk to you, even if you do want to be. I'm a retired teacher, so I am very much, let me talk to Republicans, let me talk to Democrats, but a lot of people are just don't want to have anything to do with it.
Thank you so much, Cheryl, for the call. We'll get a response from the mayor.
Cheryl, first of all, best of luck in everything. It's a very good question, and we spoke on it briefly, but we are seeing the highest rates of apathy at all times, and I think that's deliberate. What I would encourage everyone is, I think we need to go back to the church, back to the school board, back to the civic leagues. A perfect example of this is in Newport News. We were trying to recruit mentors for our public, high schools and middle schools. And all the time when you talk to someone, what they say is, well, I don't have, all my kids are out of the public school system. And I said, listen, it's an all hands on deck sort of time. And so I try to, Dr. Martin Luther King Jr., he has a book, The Urgency of Now. It's a speech, a famous speech, the urgency of now, we have to act. And yes, it may not affect you right now, but what I try to communicate is, first they came for so-and-so, and I didn't say anything because I wasn't, whatever. Eventually, they're going to come for you, whether it's school funding or whatever you hold dear, whatever special interest. And so what I try to do is I try to encourage people, we need you in the arena. And it may not affect you right now, but eventually it's going to affect you, your kids, your grandkids, someone that you love. And I think you see it right now. With this bill that was just passed, right? Mm-hmm. Whatever you want to call it, HR 1, big beautiful bill, big ugly bill, whatever the terminology is. A lot of people are like, oh, well now this affects me. This affects my health care, or this affects I'm losing my job. I'm a federal worker. I didn't really vote. I'm in Northern Virginia, and now we've downsized the federal departments by 10%, or there's doing DOGE cuts. Well, now it does affect you, and so I think you're going to see more people that want to get involved. I really do.
Yeah. So the thing about people getting involved, also because of the economic divide in this country, too, people who may not, it's very expensive to run for office.
It is.
Okay. So how do you convince someone who does not live that lifestyle, but knows what is important for their community and they need to be involved on that political level? How do you convince them that, yes, you are also welcome under the tent?
What I tell anyone that wants to run for office is, yes, the money is important, but the most important thing is to have a servant's heart, because that's how you connect to your community. We've seen it in Newport News. We had 2 local races, one for Commonwealth's attorney and then the other one for treasurer, where the individuals that won were the individuals that were out there every single day knocking doors. It wasn't, the money that was raised. It's you spending the time when it's hot, when it's cold, when it's raining, and you're outside and you're knocking on doors and you're showing up. You have to be approximate to your concerns. That's what Brian Stevenson and EJI always talks about. You have to be right up there with your concerns. And so, yeah, the money will come, but what's more important is that servant's heart. And I think that's sort of part of this is, we can equip the best people, but let's give them the tools that they need to win. Not only win in a, blue district in Virginia, but let's win in red districts. Let's win in the South. Let's win in rural America.
What's the scariest thing about being a politician?
Wow, I didn't know that was gonna. I guess we can talk about it. I think what we've seen right now is a rise of political violence, and I think the former Speaker of the House of Minnesota was assassinated a few weeks ago, and the scariest part was it hit the news for 3-4 days. It was out of the news cycle, I think, within quickly. 8 days, and so we had President Trump. Assassination attempt on that side. And so I think you see a rise of just anger, and we're losing the ability to come together. And so I think I love going to, the other parties' meetings and talking to them and saying like, hey, I'm sort of with the other side, but like, let's get away from the terminology of the other side, right? We're not two, scorpions or bears that are locked in a cage and only one can win. Like, I think we really have much more in common as Americans. We can find the 80% of common ground, and that's all we're trying to do. But I would say the rise of political violence, you have to be very careful, because nowadays, people are more likely, I think with the mental health crisis, I think people are more likely to snap, unfortunately.
So when you have news organizations such as NPR and PBS being defunded, you have very polarizing media. MSNBC on the left and Fox on the right. You have podcasts from everywhere. You've got all this information coming at you. How do you know how to discern what is most important, what is correct, and how can we get people to start to come back together when they're hearing all these opposing perspectives all the time?
One of my favorite quotes from my time in the Marine Corps was, you need to get comfortable with being uncomfortable. So what I would encourage your listeners, and I would tell everyone, is do not live in an echo chamber. You need to go to different parts of America. You need to look at different media sources. And so whether it's a Joe Rogan podcast or it's I forget the other side. They're gonna my wife's listening in. She's gonna say, I told this is like the call me daddy podcast. Call me daddy, is like the opposite of Joe Rogan. Whatever you listen to, just switch and see what the other side is listening to. I think some things you'd be like, oh, I disagree with that. I haven't considered that. But if both sides continue to live in echo chambers, well, there's not going to be there's no diversity of thought or action with that.
I'm smiling because I remember when President Obama was running the first time, and I deliberately on election night went to Fox because I wanted to know how the story was being told on both sides. And you're right, it's very eye-opening to hear what the other side has to say, because as you said before, there are those strains of commonality that we don't normally find out. What else? Oh, we got a bunch of phone calls. Let's see if we can go to a line, 757-440-2665 or 1-800-940-2240. Julia joins us from Chesapeake. Hi, Julia. You're on the air.
Hi. Thank you. I just wanted to comment about something that he said that, it's not affecting you now, but they're eventually going to come for you. There is a video produced by the government after World War II that explains exactly that, and it was produced to warn the public against the rise of fascism and the apathy when it's happening with someone else. It's called Don't Be a Sucker, and you can find it on YouTube.
Okay. Thank you, Julia, for that call. We appreciate it.
And Julia, I appreciate you saying that because I think you see it especially with the federal cuts, but it's human nature. We don't care about something until it affects us. But what we're going to see over the next 2 to 4 years is reductions in healthcare and home ownership. This affects everything, right? I think when people start to lose their jobs at a high level, people are going to become quite upset with the status quo.
Yeah, because as a matter of fact, I believe it's September 30th that those that took the buyout from the federal government will get their last paycheck.
Exactly.
So that will have an effect. Let's talk to Jerry in Virginia Beach. Hi, Jerry. You're on the air.
Hi, thank you very much. And thanks a lot, Mr. Mayor. I'm a Naval Academy graduate also, and I really do appreciate the great job you're doing in Hampton.
Newport News.
I've been involved, and I'm sorry, you can tell which side of the river I'm on. It's all the same over there.
Yes, sir.
Which are you? I've admired you from afar. But I do take exception with your purpose, though. I think I'm much in love with what the Democrats are doing now because they're the only reasonable game in town, at least as far as somebody who loves the Constitution, or at least claims to love it. But I think that growing Democrats is perhaps going to perpetuate the division that we're all seeing now. I like to view us all as independents. We did in our service. It was not very hard for most of us. But what I find is the problem is the money in elections. So I'm devoting my time to try and support organizations that try and get money out of politics and get open primaries and ranked choice voting, things that kind of get candidates that appeal to a broader population. So I think if we don't have a party that the number one thing in their platform is to get money out of politics so we can represent our constituents better, I won't support them. I'll maintain my independence, and I'll continue to vote for any independent candidate who says that they will get money out of politics. Because if we don't, it's all we want to get the best government we can, and I think Democrats are moving in that direction, really trying to do what's best for all. But they're my major obstacle, not just Democrats, but both major political parties, are the biggest obstacles that election reform, getting money out, or getting open primaries.
Okay, let's let the mayor respond to you, Jerry. We appreciate your phone call.
Thank you, sir. So first of all, I'll say go Navy, beat Army. So as a Naval Academy grad, I appreciate you. So 100% agree with you, sir. So the third part of our platform is how can we hold people accountable? And the most important part of accountability is we have to overturn Citizens United v. FEC, which is the Federal Elections Commission. So for the listeners who don't know, in 2010, that's when the Supreme Court ruled that corporations and unions are allowed to give unlimited amounts of money for independent expenditures, right? So if you run for a federal office, the max that you can usually get is, I think, $6,600, primary and general. Well, now you have unlimited money in the forms of independent expenditures. So now you're getting $1 million checks cut in support or against individuals. And so we need to overturn the rise of super PACs in our federal elections, 100%. I've written an op-ed about the importance of ranked choice voting. And what I tell everyone, even in Newport News, when I ran for mayor 3 years ago, which is crazy, it's been that long, I ran against 3 other people. It was first one across the poll. So it was what they call a jungle general. So there's 4 of us that ran in November, and I won with 40% of the vote. But what that means is 2/3 of the citizens did not vote for me, right? Yeah. And so I think ranked choice voting is the future, and I will always advocate at the local or state level for ranked choice voting.
Yeah, can you explain to people exactly what ranked choice voting is?
Yeah, so ranked choice voting it's the public policy says that it's a better way for us to pick candidates instead of it being so divisive, and instead of saying like you have to pick one of the four. Well, now for the mayor's race, you get to rank us. So I'm ranking someone first, someone second, third, and fourth. And so in ranked choice voting, I think it's the plurality is 50%. So if someone gets 50% in the first round, then they win. But in my race, I only got 40%. So then they would subtract someone, and whoever got the most second place votes. And so it's just a better way. It's the public policy says that it encouraged candidates to work together. We saw that in New York City with the mayor's race. So they're work together. It's less divisive. It's more of a let's work together and get people to turn out to vote. But I agree with that. Let's overturn Citizens United v. FEC, and let's get ranked choice voting here in Virginia. And I say one thing. The perfect example of ranked choice voting would be in the Democratic primary for lieutenant governor. You had a lot of amazing candidates. There were six candidates that run. Right. And Senator Hashmi, who won with 24-25% of the vote or whatever the number is. And so you just have the majority of people did not vote for her. So I think we can do a better job with the party. Let's advocate for RCV, local, state, and federal.
So with younger people today, can we start to train them or to encourage them to not think about the titles and think more about the issues and how they will be affected, so that we can start to change the narrative about talking? Because right now we're so divided. If you say I'm a Democrat, if you say I'm a Republican, I'm an independent, people already have an automatic perception of where you're coming from.
My favorite part of mayor is, I look young, so I get to go to the high schools and I get to talk to the 16, 17, 18-year-olds. Because, in Virginia, I think it's 17, you can, enroll to register to vote, and then it's an automatic process when you're 18. And so what I always tell them is I actually don't, care who you vote for as long as you're engaged, right? Highest rates of apathy. I just need you engaged. I don't need you to go down to your city council every single 2 weeks, but just know sort of what's happening, know what your policies are. Ask the hard questions. Hold your elected officials accountable. That's my main goal as mayor with the youth. Just be involved and vote. That's what I'm trying to get you to do.
And remind people that you are in office to represent them.
That's the
reason.
To serve them.
That's the reason why you were elected to begin with. So we only have a couple minutes left in the show, but I want to talk about Newport News. What's happening there? What things do you want to let folks know about going on in your city?
I love Newport News. It's been the honor of my life to sort of to be mayor for the last 3 years. We have a lot that's happening. The thing that I'm most proud of, I've already said, is the massive reduction in the homicide rate over the last 18 months. Chief Drew, that entire staff have done an amazing job. So in the military, we say Bravo Zulu. So Bravo Zulu. Congrats to Chief and the entire department. What I'm most excited about is we haven't told anyone. So you're the first one it's breaking news.
Breaking news.
It's breaking news. So in October, for the first time ever, we're going to have an economic development summit. Right. I think it actually may be one of the first ones we've had in Hampton Roads in the last, 30 or 40 years. What that means is we have 13 or 14 what I'll call mega projects in Newport News that I either want to build, make better, etc. That requires a lot of capital and cash. Right. So we're going to invite developers from not just the local ones, but regional, national firms. The Peoples, the largest African American developer in America, is going to come to take a look at Newport News and just give us examples. So we have a lot of middle class housing that's missing. We have a lot of undeveloped land. So once I have these 14 projects developed, that's going to be a giant boom for Newport News. We're going to be able to lower the property tax, increase the fund. And I think you saw our Juneteenth festival. We have a lot of festivals coming. All that requires money. So we're really excited about this. There's going to be more information coming, but we're going to invite 50 to 60 large firms to come in, take a look at our infrastructure and see what we can do better.
Wow. Is regionalism happening in Hampton Roads?
I think it is. I want to give a shout out to the 6 other mayors. I appreciate you guys. I'm the youngest one by a few decades. But no, I appreciate the other 6. And it's actually funny, almost half of the 7 are Republicans, right? And I think when the mayors communicate, we never say who's a Democrat, who's a Republican. We always just talk about what is best for the region. So to the other 6 mayors, I really appreciate all of you and all the support over the last 3 years. But I think Hampton Roads, and especially the peninsula, I'm a little biased.
You're a little biased.
A little biased.
How was your trip across through the tunnel today?
That tunnel took a long time, and then I had to give a little cash to Mayor Alexander because I'm in his city. You know, I had to pay the toll. But we are primed for greatness. There's a lot that's happening when you look at the rise of shipbuilding, and you have AUKUS, and you have Australia interested. We have an Office of Shipbuilding. The tunnel's almost done. I think this area in the next 20 to 30 years is going to be what Raleigh-Durham is now. Yeah. You see the investment, and so part of our economic development, we call it the EDGE Summit, Economic Development Enthusiasm Summit, something like that. The goal is to get all this private capital to invest. Because once you invest in Newport News and Hampton Roads, sky's the limits. I really believe that.
And we got another call. Let's talk to Kate from Norfolk. Hi, Kate. You're in the air.
Hi. So first of all, love the comment about just being involved and not, sitting back on our laurels. I would love to hear from your guest about like his thoughts on tone policing from the Democratic Party. And what I mean by that is there's been a lot of like, we can't criticize the Democratic Party right now. They're our only hope, that sort of thing. And I think that flies right in the face of like, be involved, stand up, hold your people accountable. So what's his take on that?
Okay. Thanks so much for the call, Kate.
Kate, really appreciate the question. And what I would say is I was listening to a podcast. I think it was Rahm Emanuel was doing a CNN podcast. And what he said is that he said Democrats, we disappoint people. And so I think instead of disappointing the American people, let's hold each other accountable. And in the Marine Corps, we used to say, because I love you, I'm going to discipline you. So it's the same thing. I don't think we need to be this like one party rule and we listen to people in DC. Let's have dissension. Let's talk behind closed doors. Let's make it just like when you purify iron and steel. Let's make it the best that it can be. Let's put it under tension, and that's what majority Democrats is trying to do. And so I agree with you. We should never just listen to one or two people. The Democratic Party is not DC. It's the people. It's when I went to the gym this morning. That's the Democratic Party. It's the car wash person. It's the grandma. That's America.
So, the time that President Biden was in office after President Trump's first term was the time that the Republicans took the time to develop their playbook. Okay,
and their bench.
Is the Democratic Party doing that now?
So
is that happening?
I have not. That is above my my pay grade as mayor. But I know that those discussions are happening at the DNC about. I think what I've been told is it's our own version of Project 2025. I think they're calling it Project 2028, et cetera. But what I am involved in is recruiting and building our bench. One thing that I get the Republicans, they do a lot of good things. I think one of the best things that they do is they build their bench. Vice President Vance is like 40 or 41. Look, he's putting 40-year-olds there. They're going to be there for a long time. Democrats do a horrible job of building the bench, and so that's what we're going to do at majority Democrats is we should. And I'm not saying you already know who's going to be next up, but let's develop this pool of talent, right? Let's invest them with the communications, and let's get them out of their comfort zone and public speaking, et cetera. And that way, when they're Governor Spanberger at the age of 45, like they have all the things that they need to be equipped. And so I think Democrats, we live 2 years out. I think Republicans live decade by decade. I think it shows.
So we're trying then to get away from it's your turn next and making it whomever is the best candidate. Is that what we're looking at?
Someone told me that the Democratic Party is now, I am the CFO, and then I've waited my turn, and now I'm the CEO. Yeah. And the Republican Party is the energy and the charisma. And I would say we have that on the Democratic side, but we have to invest in it. And so I think this generation, we are not waiting our turn. And I think that's why we're probably going to have a governor that's 45 here pretty soon.
Okay, now we don't know yet because we have two people running,
of course,
for office. But I hear what you're saying. One last question I wanted to ask you about in terms of I know that you have a strong Latino community.
Yeah, we do.
In Newport News. Are people safe in Newport News?
I would say people are safe in Newport News. We've seen a rise of ICE raids across Hampton Roads, and we continue to talk to community leaders. But it's mostly in the reign of the sheriff, so I don't want to speak on what the sheriff is doing, but I do know we put out a joint letter, myself and the school board chair, that we're not going to let ICE target people in our schools. We need kids to be focused on education. But I'll let the sheriff speak on what he's doing in the jail.
In terms of the jail, and
of
course. Okay. What's your biggest challenge for Newport News going forward? I know you're going to do this big economic piece.
Yeah.
But what else is happening?
I think one of the biggest challenges, not only for Newport News but across Hampton Roads, is we need to find ways to diversify our revenue. Right now, when you look at the biggest line item for city expenditures, we make a lot of our money off property taxes. That's putting too much of a burden on our middle class. We literally just had this discussion. The middle class is bearing a large brunt of it. We need to find different ways. Now, is it data centers? I know in Portsmouth, it's the casino. The casino is generating like $1.6 million every single year for the city. Whatever it is, we need to find ways to get the tax burden off of the residents. We need to invest in our middle class, not overburden, overtax them. At the same time, the amount of people that need more services is increasing, right? So I think my role as mayor is, can we attract more companies? Can we get more economic development? And so it's funny, people don't really want to talk about economic development, but that's the way to reduce the tax rate.
Well, and that's important, because we at a point now where we can no longer depend on military, because that's a major part, defense contractors, things of that sort, and things have changed.
You've seen a reduction in Jefferson Laboratory. You've seen a reduction in NASA Langley. And so this area has always been buoyed up by federal dollars. That may have to change. If those dollars withdraw, which is what it looks like, we need to find different ways to diversify our revenue. And that's what we're going to do in Newport News. What's
next for Mayor Philip?
What's next is this economic development summit. No,
You're not giving it up.
I'm not giving it up. I love Newport News, and as long as they'll have me, I'll stay.
As long as they have, you'll stay. Okay. We really appreciate it. As always, thank you so much for joining us today. And keep us posted on what's happening with majority Democrats as you move forward. And if people want to get involved politically, how do they reach you?
For me, just Google Mayor Philip Jones and it all comes out. It's Mayor Philip Jones on all our social media. For Majority Democrats, it's just majoritydemocrats.com. You'll see our members, you'll see what we stand for and ways to get involved. And what I would leave our listeners with is, we need everyone in the arena. 3/4 of Americans believe democracy is under attack. If it's under attack, let's do something about it.
Okay. Thank you very much, Mayor Philip Jones from Newport News. You know, our democracy depends on citizen participation. And no matter your party affiliation, it is your civic duty to vote. Please vote. Get registered, get educated on the issues, make an informed decision, and vote. Now, you can listen to this show again, or even better, share it with someone you love by going to our website, whro.org/anotherview, or Spotify, or wherever you may go for your podcast listening pleasure. And just want to remind you again that this afternoon from 5 until 9 p.m. at Chrysler Hall is the Surviving Through Mental Health Family Matters event. There are all kinds of workshops and resources and conversations that will be happening. It is free. It is open to everyone. There's complimentary parking. We want you to come out and take care of your mental health. Our theme music is an original composition created especially for Another View by Jay Sennett. Lisa Godley is our show producer. Jordan Christie is our audio engineer, and Dr. Barry Graham answered our phones. I'm Barbara Ham Lee. Have a great rest of your week, and let's get together again next Thursday at noon for Another View.
Support comes from Hampton Roads Community Foundation, carrying out your charitable wishes forever, whether it's helping shelter animals, feeding the homeless, enhancing the arts, or supporting students. Learn more at leaveabequest.org.